Joe Biden will be dead at 77 years of age. Elizabeth Warren is going to be the front runner, and her vice president is going to be Bernie Sanders before they run in the general election in what will be a huge victory for the Democrats this November once the Great Recession, once the Great Depression is official. Because, like I've said before, 100 years from the time of women's suffrage, the first president women could vote for was a man named Warren. This is why 100 years later, the first female president is going to be Elizabeth Warren. Warren Harding was born on November the 2nd. What's interesting about that is that is a day before the election. The amount of time from Warren's birthday to Harding's birthday is 133 days. As I've documented before, it was 133 days before the Wisconsin primary to the Democratic National Convention. I've said so in a prior video. And this leads us to the script. Bernie Sanders has gematria of 133. Elizabeth Warren is from Oklahoma City. Oklahoma City equals 133. Bernie Sanders focuses a campaign on reforming the government from being controlled by billionaires. It is government that equals 133. It is Elizabeth Warren's running mate that has that parallel gematria of 133. Also, the general matchup Warren Sanders against Trump and Pence. That having gematria of 133. I've talked about the Great Depression 91 years later. Are we going to see Warren against Trump? The craziness is going to hit the DNC, and we see a Warren Sanders ticket. We see moderates, we see African Americans, and we see progressives united. Now, why did Warren drop out on the 5th day of March 5-3 or 3-5 if you want to talk about March the 5th? Well, there's a couple of things that are the reason for that. Number one, that just foreshadows who our vice president is going to be, Bernie, because it's Bernie that has gematria 53 and 35. Obama endorsed Elizabeth Warren's 3 plans to fight against the coronavirus. COVID has gematria of 53. This is why Warren dropped out on the 5th day of March. It's because Warren's the only one who knows what to do about this pandemic. It's virus, and it is Sanders that equals 26. Now, keep in mind that in gematria, the practice of coding letters and words into numbers, keep in mind that it is coronavirus that equals 56. How much time is there between Bernie Sanders' September the 8th birthday and Election Day? Well, that is a time span of 56 days, and you include 57 when you include the end day. COVID 2020 then has a gematria of 57. Bernie Sanders was born on the 8th day of September, 8-9. Bernie Sanders is going to be needed for Elizabeth Warren to fight off against the coronavirus. Absolutely. Proper leadership. Bernie's been speaking every single day. Joe Biden hasn't been speaking every single day. Something's wrong with Biden. His wife is always with him. Why is his wife always with him? Why is he coughing on air? Right? Now, I originally thought it would be Julian Castro. I just exited the video back in August of 2019. I explained why Julian Castro would be Warren's vice president. Knowing that Elizabeth wasn't part of knowing that she was part of the establishment, I couldn't go with Bernie back then. Julian Castro, why endorsing Elizabeth Warren? He endorsed her January the 8th of 2020. That was 5 months from my prediction that Julian endorsed Warren, so that's why I originally went with Julian. It goes hand in hand with my video prediction of Julian Castro endorsing Elizabeth Warren. She did end up endorsing him, but only for the primaries, and then, of course, Warren dropped out. So Bernie and the coronavirus, absolutely. Now, how about the day that Vice President Sanders is sworn in, January the 20th of 2021? Time span of 19 weeks. Women's suffrage is the 19th Amendment. January the 20th is the day that the first female president is going to be sworn in. This is why it's going to be Bernie. Now, Bernie, the amount of time from his birthday to inauguration day is 134 days. I like how already as it stands, the amount of time from Warren's birthday to November the 3rd is 134 days. So why are these significant days having the same exact time frames? We have a script. 19 weeks from June the 22nd to the election. I have no doubt about it. That is what's going to be happening. Now, September the 8th of 2020, well, that birthday numerology is 57. Because keep in mind that September the 8th of 2020 is 57. That is the gematria of COVID 2020, the coronavirus as it stands in 2020. Now, Bernard has gematria of 62. What significance of 62 did I have before? Let's see, 24, 51. That's a date numerology. I'm talking about inauguration date. January the 20th of 2021 is a date numerology of 62. So Bernie Sanders is not inaugurated on January the 20th. Bernard Sanders is vice president on January the 20th of 2021. It's because he is Warren's running mate. Bernie Sanders is Elizabeth Warren's running mate. So the amount of time that Warren drops out to Bernie Sanders' birthday, what time duration does that give us? What significance does that give us with the coming death of Joe Biden? 6 months, 4 days later, this gives us the Warren Sanders 2020. There we have that. And then the general election matchup of Warren versus Trump, 64. 64 is a big number to the Masonic Zionist occult out there. Now the amount of time from the Democratic National Convention to September the 8th, 22 days. It's Italy, it's Wuhan, that's 22. Virus begins with the 22nd letter. How about this scripted connection here? 19 days from the end of the Democratic National Convention, the Bernie Sanders birthday. Bernie Sanders is a vice president for Elizabeth Warren, and it has to do with women's suffrage. It has to do with the election 100 years later from 1920. The first man that women could vote for was named Warren. So it has to be Elizabeth. 20th day of August is 20-8. The Great Depression. Warren versus Trump. The crash is coming. The bankruptcy is coming. Why do people end up broke? Why is Trump the king of bankruptcy? Is this election rigged and scripted? Absolutely. It's absolutely rigged and absolutely scripted. Alright, so the time that Bernie dropped out of the race, let's go to another day, and another revelation. He's born in the year 41. 2021 is a 41 year. You understand what we're getting with Bernie Sanders? You understand why he was never going to become president? I told you guys, he was never going to become president of the United States. When did he drop out? Bernie dropping out. Let me have Google. Bernie suspends campaign. That was on a date of August. April the 8th. There we go. April the 8th here. Time span with the birthday. Let's do that first. That is 153. That's 154. That's 22. So maybe a connection with the virus. Now Bernie suspends the campaign, and then where does the next president come into play? I think it's a big joke that Joe Biden is a president of the United States. 2 months and 14 days. I can talk more about that. Just rambling on here, but I just have to continue. He suspends the campaign. Okay, he suspends the campaign. What are we going to find out once the Democratic National Convention is here? That's 19 weeks later from the time that he dropped out. 4 months and 9 days, 131 days. What do we have here with 131? The ticket running against the narcissist Donald Trump. Is that when Warren is going to win? Defeating the narcissist? And we have the ticket here in during the time of the Democratic National Convention. Because we know Bernie is not running alongside Joe Biden. The day after he drops out, this is 133 days. So the 19th Amendment connection in Warren Harding in 1920, this only means that Warren's going to become president. Bernie Sanders is going to be our vice president. And then once Bernie Sanders dies, and once Bernie Sanders is dead, once Bernie Sanders is dead in office, he would then be replaced by Julian Castro. So Julian is going to become vice president after Bernie Sanders dies. After Bernie Sanders dies, that's when Julian's going to get his vice president experience and he can work his way towards becoming first Latin American president of the United States of America, serving under the first African American president, Barack Obama. I hate saying black or white, Caucasian, blah, 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 blah. Okay, what do we have here? Year numerology adds of the 21 inauguration for Warren in 2021. He endorses Elizabeth, the 16th Democratic president. He was the 16th Secretary of Urban Housing. But yes, this is the setup that we have. Warren and Sanders, it has to be once Joe Biden is dead and once Bernie is no longer with us, Julio's going to have to replace him as vice president.